So this is double beaver glitch, the explanation for it. So first happened way back in 2016. As you can see here from Connor's video, it's dated February 2016. And as you can see here, he's having a little bit of trouble herding the beavers. And that final beaver there, let me go back a bit. That final beaver counts for twice. Now, that's obviously shouldn't happen. One beaver, 1 point. We've not been able to find a way to replicate this, but I did a bit of digging today, and I managed to figure out how it works. So, it's all based on control state stuff. So, if we go here to Beaver Bother, just got a state where a beaver is falling down a hole, and as you can see, this value here, which is the beaver's control state, let me mark that here. Yeah, so the beaver control state, as you can see, is 1, it's gone down to 7, which it means it's falling, and then it goes to OX40. And then after a little bit of a while, it will go back to OX36. Now OX36 means that it is respawning. The key thing is OX40. OX40 means that the beaver has died, and the game tries to do everything it can to make sure that once you're in state OX40, you do not get out of it. The reason why this is so powerful is if we play this again, and we're in OX40, we're going to have to try that again. So this only works on the very first frame that you go to state OX40. Let's just change it to 37, just a random number. You can see that this number here just incremented again, this enemy kill count. And as you can see, if we wait a little bit longer, that will decrease the number twice, even though one beaver has gone in. So that's why it's trying to protect you not being able to change from state OX40. It's broken, let's say. So the way that it handles this, if we go over to Ghidra here, Ghidra is a bit of software to view game code. We can see that when you kill an enemy, it increments the enemy kill counter by 1, which controls the hit thing you see on the top left of Beaver Bother. And then it overwrites the control state to OX40. Now the control state, just to give a little bit of background, is something which controls how the actor in question responds. So the thing which makes Beaver Bother, or double beaver I should say, possible, is all of this code right here. This, all the way from this bit, all the way down to here. So this first condition, we don't need to worry about. This second one, this only works on the first frame, which you are in state OX40. Therefore, this condition, because OX36 is not OX40, will immediately pass as true. The next thing that the game checks is the claptrap loaded? And if it is, then it'll pass on. The next thing is this thing which says claptrap.controlState. So what this means is, as I said, control states are like how the actor behaves. So in particular with claptrap is that this, if it is equal to 0, then the game says that the claptrap isn't barking or hasn't barked within like a certain range of time. If it's not equal to 0, aka if it's equal to 1, then it is barking or has barked recently enough where it's going to scare some beavers. So we don't want the whole not barking condition. We want claptrap to be barking. This next thing, ActorPad field OX1A and OX8000 equals 0. Now, this might look a bit weird, but let me bring some context into it. That bit means that is the beaver scared or is it not scared? If it's not scared, then that value is going to evaluate to 0. If it is scared, however, that value is going to evaluate to not 0. If that's true, then it will check the distance between the claptrap and the beaver that is in question. And if you are within a 40 unit horizontal radius of the beaver, then it will perform some stuff to like make sure that like the beaver is scared properly, like calculate the angle and how quickly the beaver should move, all that stuff. Might look a bit odd because this says 16,000, not 16,000, 1,600. And that's because 40 squared is 1,600, and to save a little bit of processing time, the game doesn't do a square root of this like normal Pythagoras theorem. And then the rest of it is, as I was kind of hinting before, is just like calculating the angle and calculating how fast the beaver should move. But also the game needs to tell the beaver you're like scared, you're doing some form of thing. So the key thing here is that it sets the control state to OX10. Now, if you remember, like a couple of minutes ago, I mentioned that the game tries everything to make sure that the player doesn't, or the beaver I should say, doesn't get out of state OX40. If in the one frame that you're in state OX40 and the beaver is loaded, aka it's performing this code, you change the control state to OX10, it will mean that it performs double beaver. So if we go to this screen here, and then virtual pad, and go here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to look at these bottom, the values in the bottom. So isn't scaring range, is the player in the 40 unit range. Is the beaver scared? And then we don't need to worry about angle delta stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to move back towards the beaver. Now, the beaver's no longer scared, but we're still in the scaring range. And additionally, this is equal to 0. Claptrap isn't barking, which is good, because we don't want him to bark right now, because otherwise the beaver will be set to control state OX10 early. We don't want that. So now you see, beaver's moved into the free fall, and then if we advance a little bit more, you can see beaver has moved to control state OX40. The hit counter has incremented to 4, so, or the enemy's kill counter has incremented to 4. So right now the hit counter is going to decrease to 8, which is normal behavior. But if we press B to bark right now, it might not look like it's changed, but all this happens within a space of frame. It goes from OX40 to OX10 back to OX40. The claptrap is barking, as you can see here, and most importantly, this is incremented to 5. So the hit counter is going to decrease to 7, as you can see in a sec. Right there. And that is double beaver, in essence. So, a few questions. Firstly, is this going to be faster? For TAS, almost certainly. The current... It's not really fastest, it's one of like the two methods of if you use a shockwave glitch or if you just beat the game normally, they're roughly the same with TAS. This will almost certainly be faster, because rather than having to wait, for instance in Factory Beaver Bother, you have to wait for 3 waves of beavers, and that waiting time costs a decent amount of time. With this, you only need to get, because you only need to get 12 beavers in. With double beaver, you only need to get 6. For RTA, I'm not going to speak about this too much because I've not done an RTA in a long while, and there's people far more talented than me in this aspect. I don't think this is going to be done RTA. Not because it's not faster for RTA, but because the precision, more specifically, I should say, the fact that this requires you to be in a frame perfect position, or you need to press B on like the perfect frame or enter the range on a perfect frame. Something needs to happen on the perfect frame. I can see it happening like once in a blue moon. Like people may go for it just to try it out. It'll save like a second or two on their runs, but it's not going to be where people are going left and right and double beavering like 5 times in one minigame. I don't think that's going to happen. I could be wrong, because there are some very talented runners out there, but it's wait to be seen. So anyway, that's the double beaver explanation. Hope it's made some sense. And yeah,